Welcome in to another COD video. What I want to discuss in this video is something that I haven't seen anyone else talk about. Back in April or May, the Call of Duty player numbers were revealed for March of the past 3 years. Using these numbers, I want to compare them to the average Steam player numbers during those months to determine the percent that Steam makes up of the total player base. Doing this, we could always know what the COD player number is for each month. This is going to be a data-heavy video, but I'll try to keep it light. Without any further ado, let's get into it. So, we have the numbers. They are right here. Modern Warfare 2 had 22.4 million players in March 2023. Modern Warfare 3 had 20.8 million players in March 2024. And Black Ops 6 had 20.6 million players in March 2025. What we don't know is how many players there are in Call of Duty in May 2025. Along with the player numbers, we also know the Steam average player numbers for these months. Modern Warfare 2 had 86,525 average players in March 2023. Modern Warfare 3 had 74,850.6 average players in March 2024. And Black Ops 6 had 44,613.3 average players in March 2025. We do know the average players in May 2025 for Black Ops 6, and it's 59,989.1. Using these two data points, player count and average players, we should be able to determine what the Steam player percent is of the total population of COD players. So for Modern Warfare 2, we can see that Steam makes up about 0.39% of the player base. For Modern Warfare 3, Steam makes up about 0.36% of the player base. For Black Ops 6, Steam makes up 0.22% of the player base. What I find interesting is that for Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, we can see that they are relatively similar numbers. They are around 0.40% of the player base. I wanted this trend to continue, but unfortunately, that is not the case. Black Ops 6 has the same amount of players as Modern Warfare 3, but with significantly less average players on Steam. This must be the Game Pass influence this year. It appears to have taken about 30,000 average players away from Steam. Again, I'm looking at Modern Warfare 3 as a comparison, since the numbers from year to year are so similar to one another. If the correlation was still there, I would have expected Black Ops 6 to have the same average Steam numbers. But the Black Ops 6 Steam percent is now 0.22% of the player base. This muddies the water because it's going to be harder to project what the COD player base is for May 2025. What percent do we use to compute the player base number? If we use the 3-year average of the games, the Steam player percent is 0.32%. This would compute the player base for May 2025 to be around 18.7 million. But we know this cannot be true since the average Steam number in May 2025 is 59,989.1, which is higher than the 44,613.3 average players in March 2025. And that was when the player base was at 20.6 million. So 3-year average is out. If we use the Black Ops 6 March 2025 player percent of 0.22%, then this would put the player base at 27.7 million for May 2025. I would assume this would be the max possible players that the game could have achieved for this month. It doesn't really seem realistic to be this high, but it is what the math works out to. If we average the two player base averages, the 3-year average and the Black Ops 6 average, the player base for May 2025 would be around 23 million. I would assume this would be the floor for where the player base is in May 2025. So in the end, what can we deduce from all this? By using the May 2025 Steam average players, we can assume that the COD player base in May 2025 is somewhere between 23 million and 27.7 million players. What I find interesting is that we can see that Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 were trending around 0.4%. The implementation of Game Pass really messed up this analysis. It creates an outlier in the data. What I want to see next year is if they post player numbers again. If they do, and it is for March 2026, I could put the data in the table and compute the percent again. If we are lucky, the percent might fall out around 0.2%. This starts creating a pattern and is much more reliable than going on one data point. We could then start predicting the total COD player base based on average Steam player numbers with more accuracy instead of guessing where the player base is at a given time. I hope that Activision publishes more series of data like this, but I do have a little bit of concern that they won't. I'm guessing that they don't really want us to be able to determine how many players are playing the game, and they knew that their data was trending with Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. For the conspiracy folks, maybe Game Pass was a way to disrupt the Steam numbers since they knew Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 were creating a trend line with average Steam players. Game Pass decreases the Steam data by pulling gamers off the Steam platform and to Xbox, where we don't get any numbers. Maybe March 2026 data will show the Steam percent decrease as more and more gamers move to Game Pass. I hope not, as Steam player numbers are the only way we can try to determine where the COD player base numbers are at. Only time will tell, but let me know what you guys think about this method for figuring out total COD player base in the comments section below. Thank you for watching.